All right, we are live on YouTube, and we'll hit the live on Amazon. All right, we are up and running, and I figured I would do some more unboxings today. So here's what we have today to unbox. We've got a new phone from Motorola on loan. This is the Moto One Action. And this one is kind of like their budget-ish offering, $279, not that expensive. And then we're going to unbox a tablet. This is called the Tango Tab. It's one of these generic Chinese ones, but the price was right on it. So I figured let's try this one out. Why not? It's always good to see what's out there for Android tablets. And then this I got at CES. This is the Benji Lock Travel Edition. And we did a brief thing at their booth about it, and they also gave me one to take home with me. So I figured we would unbox it today, and then we'll probably do an extras channel review of it when it is done. So we'll set it up and get it working here. So that is the game plan. And it looks like we've got 24 of you in on the YouTube chat. So we will start unboxing here in a minute. So let me move. We're going to do the Motorola phone first, and then we'll do the other stuff. That's the plan. And I think what I can do is zoom the camera in a bit. I'm still playing with the lighting here. You notice I'm getting these two bright spots here, which is where I have to get those lights better diffused, I think. All right, there we go. And Herman is here. Hello, Mr. Herman. All right, we'll get going here. And if you are watching on Amazon, you can chat on the Amazon thing and I will see it. And these will be videos that will appear on my extras channel. So for the tablet and the phone, we're not going to start reviewing these right now, but we're going to have Jake start working on them as we go. So that is the game plan. Stacey Alexandria is here as well. And I'm doing my my afternoon boost. So my routine is I do work in the morning. I get a little bit of lunch. I come back and finish up a little bit, and then around 2 o'clock or so Eastern time, I get in my car and drive down to my mailbox where all the stuff comes in, and I check the mailbox, and then on the way back I get myself a little cup of joe here, and then I go and finish my afternoon. And now that I'm doing more of these live streams now, like the live stream is part of the routine. So that's what we're doing there. So we have Stacy is here. Herman's here from Spain, actually. Welcome from across the Atlantic Ocean. T-Dub is here. Imre Sabi wants to know, isn't today some kind of holiday in the U.S.? Yes, today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So my kids are off from school today. And it's actually a pretty important holiday here in the U.S. and something that, thankfully, my daughter, who's now in first grade, spent a good portion of the day yesterday, or Friday, learning about the significance of the day. So I'm glad they're doing that. Christopher's here. G. Cougs is here from Vancouver, Washington. Handquake is here. And T-Dub says, I have a dream. That's a wonderful speech. One of the best speeches of all time was the I had a dream speech. And it's unfortunate that he's not, obviously he would have been very old at this point, but still like that his life was not longer. I actually met his son briefly, very briefly, at an event I was at a number of years ago. And his son looked so much like his father. It was really crazy. All right, Varun is here from India. J. Crew is here from Toronto. Herman says laptop prices in Spain are crazy. Yeah, some of the import duties and stuff are crazy. All right, so let's get the show on the road here. Boris is from West Palm Beach, Florida. Actually, I go down to West Palm Beach quite a bit. I spend a lot of time in Palm Beach Gardens. And thank you, Imre, for the happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Appreciate that. John from Toronto is here. All right, so we're going to do the first unboxing here. I'm going to record these for the extras channel, so it'll look like I'm doing a recording, which I'm doing, while I'm streaming. It's kind of a convenient thing to do. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time for another unboxing. The folks from Motorola let us borrow their Motorola One Action phone. This is a lower cost device. It's under $300, at least it is on Amazon. And it's one of these phones that offers a lot of features for a relatively low price. And we're going to have a full review of this soon on my main channel at Lon.TV. And today we're just going to do the unboxing. So let's have a look at what we've got in the box here. So this is the phone itself, and this is a review loaner. So we're going to be sending this back to Motorola when we're done with it. Just going to pull the little screen protector off of it here. It's got a case already on it, and it feels like the case can come off pretty easily. It's got a pretty wide footprint, or pretty long footprint here. And I'm not sure if the battery is even charged on this. So there it goes. So we'll boot it up and see how it looks. Actually, the display is really sharp on this thing. It looks almost like an OLED. It must be OLED. Really, it looks nice. One of the things I've liked about the Motorola phones over the years is that they tend to work with all carriers, and this US version will. So they had one on Amazon that's for the Latin American market. This is the North American one, and it will work with all the major US carriers. And you don't have a little camera notch because there's a little camera hole there in the corner, and we'll get that set up at some point in the near future. 3 cameras here on the back, and I believe it's got a wide-angle lens as one of those, along with a flash and a fingerprint reader. Pretty cool looking device. So that's the phone part. Let's have a look and see what else is in the box here. We get our Motorola charger, a USB charger. I believe this supports fast charging, so we'll explore that in the full review. And here is our USB-C cable for charging. So we've got some work to do on this one. We've got to get it set up and operating here. Let's take a look at the ports before we go too much further here. So we've got on the bottom here a USB Type-C port. There's another notch here which looks like a microphone notch and not a headphone jack. So at least on the bottom here it looks like you've just got your standard port there. Speaker right here. It doesn't look like it's stereo though. There's only one speaker. We've got another notch here for what looks like another microphone. Over here is your headphone jack. So you do have the traditional headphone jack on this one. And there you go. What it doesn't support are those little booster packs that Motorola has made for some of their other phones. So if you have some of those devices, they're not going to work with this particular model, but it's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to get this thing booted up and installed, and we'll let you know how it all works in an upcoming review that you'll find on my main channel at Lon.TV, so stay tuned. All right. These are always quick things that we do for the unboxings. And you know what I might do with this is actually, I just want to see what it's got for the SIM card slot on this. I'll pop it out of the case real quick here. And before I do that, I'm just going to mark the clip here so we don't forget that we've got a And actually some good comments in the chat here about Motorola phones. And I think, you know, they do make really good phones. They have for a long time. Now, they are owned now by Lenovo. And they had a weird ownership transfer. So they were their own company. In fact, for a long time, Motorola phones were all I bought. And I had the, I had the StarTAC. Everybody had the StarTAC. I have, ooh, you know what else I have? Let me see if it's still over here. I may have put it away already. Oh, it's still over here. Yeah. So now this is not the exact phone I had, but it's so this was the first handheld mobile phone I had. So this is circa 95, I think I got this one. And back then, it was 75 cents a minute to talk on it. It was crazy expensive. Although what they used to do, this was Verizon back when they were at Bell Atlantic Mobile. What they did is they would give you like a 8 or 12 months. It was a long time. You'd get free nights and weekends for like the first 8 months you had the phone. So you got hooked on it. And where I lived in Connecticut, if I made a call outside of my local area, they wouldn't charge you long distance. So at my house, I could call like the town next over from me. But if I went like 3 towns over, I was spending a lot of money to make these in-state toll phone calls. And these phones were totally free of that. So what I would do in college is I would call home after 8 o'clock when the nights and weekends started. And then at some point, your nights and weekends ended, like flat out ended, and that was it. So you couldn't even buy it at that point. They eventually added it to their plan, so you could buy the nights and weekends. But yeah, that's all you got. You had a little single line display for typing the numbers in. I don't think this is charged. Yeah, I don't even know where the charger is for this. And certainly it won't work. Yeah, that was what I used. And it was funny because you walked around with this thing, you almost felt, actually I could tell you that I felt self-conscious taking it out. I remember one day, I was it's funny how you remember this weird stuff. So I was home for the weekend from college, and my friend and I went out to Blockbuster to get a movie to watch or a game to play or something. And I'm in line at Blockbuster, and my phone starts ringing in my pocket. I don't know, I think my mother was calling me because we were out and next to the grocery store, and she wanted me to get something. Something so benign today. And I'll tell you what, like the whole store turned around when I took the phone that was ringing out of my pocket and answered it. This is only in like 1995, so you can imagine, how things have gone. But look at the difference here. So Motorola was its own entity at this point, and then at some point Google bought them, and then Google sold them, and then like the Motorola division got broken up into all these different pieces. And then some of these things like the Motorola security cameras and stuff, they'll have a Motorola brand on it, but they're licensed from Motorola. They're actually an actual Motorola product. But the Moto phones are Lenovo's thing now, so that's who's making them. So I just want to look at the SIM tray real quick to see if there's anything worth talking about on that. And then I'll turn this over to Jake, and maybe he can start getting stuff going on it. And if need be, we can come back to it and look at a few other things with this. So I'm eager to, actually, what I should do is I should pull up the specs on it just to see what's inside of the phone from a processor standpoint. Because we're getting to the point now where these lower end phones, they're not performing all that badly compared to the higher end ones. Yeah, so it's a single SIM here, and you've got a SD card slot. You know what I'm going to do, because I think I need to flesh out the unboxing video a little bit more. I'm just going to go look up what this thing has under the hood real quick, and we'll come back to that real quick here. So this is the Moto 1. And we'll come back to that. And I'm going to take some questions as we go here too, folks, so don't be shy. And I just turned off the chat window on my computer screen here, so bear with me for 1 second. All right. But you can see even something as benign as an unboxing, like you want to make sure you've got something useful for people to watch with it. So this is the Moto 1 Action. And this is the US version. So it looks like, and I don't have my computer dialed in here, but this is, if you go onto the link that's in the video description, it'll take you right over to Amazon. So this phone has 128 gigs of storage, $279. It's got a 6.3-inch Cinema Vision display, all-day battery, rapid charging, yada yada. I wonder what does it have for RAM? It doesn't say what it has for RAM. So we'll have to look into that. And I could probably, let's go look at GSM Arena. I think they're usually pretty good on Moto 1 Action. Let's see what they've got here. Let me pull up my computer screen so you can see what I'm looking at. I gotta find the right cable. I got cables all over the place in here, folks. It is crazy. So let me dial in my laptop screen here, and we can take a look and see what it's got for specs. All right, here we go. 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. I think it's a pretty good deal. Here, I'll pull up the specs here. Android 9 Pie. Motorola has actually also been good at keeping these phones up to date too. And it works on most of the major carriers in the US. All right, so let's see what it's got for cameras. So primary, 12 megapixel, 1.8 aperture. All right, so let me just see where I left off on that unboxing video. Stereo though, there's only one speaker. We've got another notch here for what looks like another microphone. Over here is your headphone jack, so you do have the traditional headphone jack on this one. And there you go. What it doesn't support are those little booster packs that Motorola has made for some of their other phones. So if you have some of those devices, they're not going to work with this particular model, but it's pretty cool. All right, so okay, so and I'm just going to pick up from here and talk about the processor that's inside. I think is what we're going to do here. So what does it have for a chipset? A Samsung Exynos 9609. That's a Cortex A73. I have not encountered one of those before, but it's interesting they would put a Samsung processor in here, so that's pretty cool. All right, so let me pick it up from here. 3, 2, 1. And for the price point, it's got some pretty decent specifications. This one has 128 gigs of storage. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is nice in a lower cost phone. It's got a lot of cameras, as you saw here at the outset. So the front camera is 12 megapixels, 2.0 aperture. It does 4K 30 frames per second video recording. Again, we'll have footage in the main review when we do that, so stay tuned. On the back, you've got a 12 megapixel camera at a 1.8 aperture. And then it's got an ultra wide, which is 16 megapixels, 2.2 aperture with 117 degree coverage. And then it's got another one, a depth camera at 5 megapixels, and it looks like you can do 4K 30 recording out the back on all of those lenses. Although I think, we'll have to test it, but I think you probably only get access to 2 of those for video on the back. Processor on this one is a Samsung chipset, an Exynos 9609. That is a Cortex A73 and A53 combo. So they've got kind of a low-powered core or a couple of low-powered cores and higher-powered cores. We see that on a lot of other phones. So I'm eager to try this out and see exactly how it stacks up, but it feels like a pretty decent value for, again, what you're getting here. 1 SIM card slot, though, but here in the US it works across all carriers. So it looks like good compatibility, good price. Nice, unique, long 6.3-inch display, too. So we got more to come on this one on the main channel soon with the full review. So stay tuned. Okay, cool. So that one's done. And you get a little case with it, too. I'm impressed with what they're packing into this. This is what I love about where mobile technology's gone. I mean, you think about it, for most people, do you need like one of these super fancy phones if you don't want to, if you're not doing all that much stuff with it? You can get one of these for 200 and something bucks, and if you drop it, you just, buy another one. So, not bad. All right, so let's pack this one up, and we'll give this to Jake in a minute. He can start working on it. And let me see what you all are saying here. I'm missing a lot of chat stuff because I was like focused on the phone specs here. So, let's see what you've all said to me. All right. Wow, I missed a lot of chats here. So let me scroll back up. Okay, so we have John from Toronto is here. Felipe Lana from Brazil is here. And by the way, we were talking with Herman a few minutes ago about the cost of some of these laptops, and I guess some of these issues are the agents that handle your packages often get you too. Kevgret has a Moto G7 Power with a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Yeah, they've got like some massive battery phones too that go forever. Felipe has an Asus Zenfone Max Pro. Again, another one of those big batteries. He's very happy with that, it looks like. Let's see what else we got here. Nathan Martin is here. Chris Pistaco's here. Pistaco, sorry. I always mess up people's names, I know. And Stacy has, the first phone was a Galaxy S9 that was Android. Before that, he was an iPhone guy. But every single iPhone would have issues after 18 months. Interesting. I don't often keep my iPhones that long, although my iPhone 10 I kept for 2 years. And I had really no problems with it, although I dropped it mid-ownership. So they replaced it after I dropped it. I did have some issues with that phone that were fixed as part of a warranty deal. Let's see. This is on loan from Motorola. Somebody was asking me how much I paid for it. This is on loan from Motorola, but it looks like it costs about 280 bucks. Technology wants to know recommendations for a 17 or 18-inch laptop to buy. I haven't actually looked at any recently, so if I get some in, I will have some recommendations. I did, we'll have this review up very soon, later in the week. I did get for my own usage, I bought a Y740 gaming laptop from Lenovo, and that one's been pretty nice so far. I have one little issue with it, which you'll see in the review. Nathan Martin's first phone was a Motorola. Let's see here. Rich Wilson, in the very first episode of Get Smart, his shoe phone started ringing when he was in an opera. Yeah, that's right. It's kind of, that was funny, right? Like Get Smart was funny. He had that phone built into his shoe, right? That was a precursor of what was to come. Let's see. Scrolling through a few here. I'm going to miss a couple, but we'll get back to these in a minute. Rich Wilson was asking about a VR headband. Yeah, I think these VR attachments for phones are done. The Galaxy one is not being used anymore, and I think there's enough alternatives out there, especially when, I'm just going to zoom this camera out here for a second, especially when you look at like the Oculus Quest and stuff. Now, here's what's funny. So this is so every once in a while, these companies reach out to me and say, hey, we got a new tablet for you. And I'm like, okay, let's take a look at that. Oh, someone said I have a Lenovo sticker on my arm. I do have a Lenovo sticker on my arm. Where did it go? There it is. Thank you for pointing that out, because that would have shown up in whatever else I was doing. Where did that come from? It must have been on one of the things before. So thank you. I dismissed, for Mr. Food Moon for finding that. Thank you very much. Someone says, would that make it a Lenovo? Very good. Yeah, Lon is on loan from Lenovo. So I get these emails from these companies like, hey, you want to check out our tablet? And usually I'm like, it's not that interesting. But this one is called and if you're on the Amazon stream, you'll see it. This is the Symbands. It's $139. Let me pull up the specs on this one here so you can see what we're about to unbox here. I just want to add my video to the mix. 701, Moto Unbox Part 2. All right, so the next thing here is the Symbands. I think this is called the Tango Tab. And let's go and look at the 10-inch. I'll pull this up for you all to see. I just got to find it. And the problem with these things is like they're dime a dozen, right? So it's hard to get the right one on screen. I think this is the one. Man, is it ugly. Yeah, this is the one. So 129 bucks. You get 3 bonus items. And I think one of the, let's see. They give you like a case in the box, which is good. And you get a screen protector, I believe, on it. And then they're selling the box as like one of the features. The box is like being called a beautiful, imperishable gift box. So there you go. So yeah, this is not going to be a spectacular tablet, but there are sometimes like these hidden gems that, you know, are worth exploring. And so I like to get these in from time to time, and poor Jake has to actually test them. Sometimes it's torturous to use these things, and he's laughing over there because he's been through a few that are not so pleasant. So, but we'll see how this one goes. That's why he does that. All right, let me go look at one more thing on this. Quad core. So it's got a MTK 8163. So it's a MediaTek 81. That's not a bad chip. So I think it may actually perform okay. The only downside on this is that it's got 2 gigs of RAM for its memory. And it's on Android 8.1 Oreo. And we'll test that because sometimes it says it's running with that, but it actually has a more up-to-date version. So, all right, so let me unbox this real quick. We're going to start recording. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, it's Lon.TV. We've got another unboxing for you today. This is a low-cost tablet from a company called Symbands. It is called the Tango Tab. This sells for like 140 bucks or something, so not all that expensive. Sometimes it's even less expensive than that. This is a 10-inch tablet. that has a couple of features on it that were intriguing to me. Now, before we unbox this, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that this came in free of charge from the manufacturer. However, nobody is approving this unboxing before it gets uploaded, and nobody is paying for it either, and all of the opinions you're about to hear are my own. So let's unbox it here and see what we got inside. So let's start with the tablet portion, given that that's kind of front and center. And it's, it's like an older style device, a very big bezel device here, as you can see. We'll pull the screen protector off of it. And it's not oozing quality at me here, but I'm not expecting all that much given the price point. And it looks like part of the screen here is coming up on the side. So yeah, not spectacular. But let's see if it powers on. It might need a charge before we get into it. Now, this is, again, not that expensive. The display is only a 720p display, so you're not going to have a spectacular image here. But it is only 1080p, so, I'm sorry, it is, shoot, let me start again. I got to fix that. 720p. It is only 10 inches, not 1080p. I can salvage this, though, so let me just start the, it actually feels like it's coming apart. I could feel it, like, moving. 800... tablet unbox intro, cut before 1080p. I'm just going to play this back real quick so I can work with something here. Bear with me, folks. Recording 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We've got another unboxing for you today. This is a low-cost tablet from a company called Symbands. It is called the Tango Tab. This sells for like $140 or something, so not all that expensive. Sometimes it's even less expensive than that. This is a 10-inch tablet that has a couple of features on it that were intriguing to me. Now, before we unbox this, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that this came in free of charge from the manufacturer. However, nobody is approving this unboxing before it gets uploaded, and nobody is paying for it either, and all of the opinions you're about to hear are my own. So let's unbox it here and see what we got inside. So let's start with the tablet portion, given that that's kind of front and center. And it's, it's like an older style device, a very big bezel device here, as you can see. We'll pull the screen protector off of it. And it's not oozing quality. I'm going to pick it up from here, and then we'll come back to the overhead. Let's move that over there. Okay. So, 3, 2, 1. And it's not oozing quality at me here, but I wasn't expecting quality when I unboxed it. But I am noticing that it feels like the screen is moving here on the right-hand side of the bezel. And if you look closely enough here, you can see, let's see if I can get the right angle here with the light, that it looks like part of the laminate here on the top is coming up on it. So yeah, this is not really a super high-quality tablet. The display is 720p. It looks okay. It's 10 inches, so I think that's probably doable. It's not going to rival your iPad or anything else like that. We do have some ports worth mentioning, and some of them are kind of unique. So we have a headphone jack, which is not always present these days on devices. You have a micro USB connector. I'm assuming you could probably charge with that, but it's also probably used as a USB OTG port, so you can plug in USB devices. This is interesting to me, HDMI, so you could plug this into an external display, and we'll experiment with that to see if we can get a higher resolution out via that. You've got a full-size USB host port here, that's interesting, and you've got your DC input there for power. So it's got a good amount of input on it, actually, so that might be useful for some of you. Right under here is an SD card slot. And this might be useful because the tablet only has 32 gigs of storage, but you can add some storage to the port there, and if your app supports downloading media to that card, you can make use of that. Power button there. You've got a camera here in the back. I don't think it's a spectacular camera. I think it's like 2 megapixels or something like that, so not great there. And that is it for ports. And of course, we'll test its battery life and all of that. It does have some pogo pins here at the bottom, so I wonder if there's like a keyboard attachment that you can buy separately. I didn't see it on their Amazon page, but it looks like it's got those pogo ports there. So let's dig a little deeper into this box and see what we get in addition to the tablet. We have a manual. That's good to see. All right. And we're going to be generous with this in the review just because it's not very expensive and the expectations obviously are not going to be high for it. So we'll keep that all in check. It's got a leather case or a leatherette case that comes with it, so that's nice. You don't have to worry about picking up a protective case for it. And then we have, it's probably easier, power adapter. Yep. So we have a USB power adapter. We have a couple of different plugs depending on your location in the world. And then we have a, so you got both a USB cable for charging and then a USB cable with the barrel connector on it. So it looks like you have your choice of how you want to charge everything up there. Another feature of this is that it has built-in GPS that doesn't require a network connection to operate. So we'll try to test that out as well without an internet connection and see if we can get some use out of the GPS, because that might be useful if you're doing drone piloting or something and you want a device that has GPS without having to have a cellular subscription to get it there. So yeah, so this will be something worth taking a look at. Not that expensive, and if it can do something for its low price, it might have some value. And again, we're going to have a full review of this very shortly on the main channel at Lon.TV, so stay tuned. All right, I can live with that. All right, so let's see who we've got coming in here. Some discussion on RAM on the chat here. Dapster says all Android tablets at a minimum should come with, or Stacey Alexandria says all Android tablets should have 4 to 6 gigs minimum. I would agree. I think, for people that are just doing basic stuff like web browsing and email, I think the 2 gigs is probably fine, but you will soon find that I'm sure a lot of app developers, as more devices start having more memory built in, will start targeting more of that. Let's see what else we got. Right, lots of input, King says. Yeah, Flood of Sins is here. Hello. Mr. Food Moon says 1 gig of RAM is unusable on Android unless it's running Android Go. Yeah, so I think 2 gigs is probably the bare minimum you want these days. I would agree with that. And then Stephen here says that the Android itself is not RAM hungry, but the apps are getting hungrier and bigger, and they are, for sure. Mr. Food Moon also says it's hard to beat the Fire tablets for kids, and I would agree with that. I think if you have a kid, the Fire tablet is really a good value. The only thing the Fire tablet doesn't do without additional shoehorning is the YouTube stuff, right? So you want to be able to install YouTube and get that going. You can't get the official YouTube apps. And that gets more complicated now with all this COPPA stuff, because if you want the YouTube Kids app on there, you've got to deal with that. Recipe Bob is here. Let's see, NVIDIA Shield is 3 gigs, that's right. So yeah, I think we're all starting to see the need for more RAM. All right, I'm not going anywhere just yet. I'll put my phone here. You can look at my beautiful phone. I'm going to go just give this stuff to Jake so he can start installing stuff on these things. And he's got like a bunch of stuff going on here. Here you go, sir. There you go. All right. Ugh. All right, so next thing is we're going to play around with the Benji lock, and I'm just going to do a review of this. We're not going to do an unboxing video. We already did a CES clip of this when we were at CES, and this is kind of a neat story attached to this one. So this showed up on Shark Tank, the TV show. And it was started by this guy, Robbie Cabral, who wanted something easier for his gym locker. And he's got a good story. So he went on Shark Tank. I forgot which shark invested in him. I think it was Mr. Wonderful, the bald guy. And then they sold or did some deal with Hampton, who makes a lot of these locks to begin with. They make like door locks and stuff. So they hired him, and they've been making these Benji locks, which are fingerprint locks. And this one is their travel lock. Kevin O'Leary, yes, said Mr. Foodman says. That's right. Mr. Food Moon, I'm sorry. That is correct. So MZU 5000 says I should take my phone inside a DeLorean. I have a friend who has a DeLorean, actually. We should bring this phone over there and see if we time travel with it. Isn't it? I'll tell you what, though. So there was 2 batteries for this phone. So this was like the large battery. You got I think you got 2 hours of talk time out of this one. And then there was a thinner battery that was a little less big and bulky. So I went from this. I can't remember which phone I got after this one. I had this one, and then I think I got the StarTAC after this, which was a lot thinner. And then I had the StarTAC for a short time, and then I got another StarTAC because they had, this was right when they started going to digital. So I'm trying, no, I had a few other phones in between. So I started with this one, and then I got a Qualcomm phone because that was when they switched over to digital. So then I got the digital Qualcomm phone, and that would work analog or digital. And when it was in digital mode, that one did not have the browser, I don't think, but there was a StarTAC phone that came out a year or two later that had one of those little text browsers built into the phone. And there was a cable you could get, which was like a serial cable to your computer, and you could use the StarTAC phone as a modem, so you could connect to the internet remotely. And this was back in probably 2000 or even earlier, so it's about 20 years ago now. So I had that StarTAC phone, and then they came out, and I don't have it anymore. I wish I kept it because this phone was super cool. Here, let me show you what this one looked like. Speaking of Motorola phones. So I only bought Motorola phones up until probably when I got the, I got one of those Palm Pre, or not Palm Pre, what was it, the Palm Trio or something. But here, let me find the picture of this phone real quick here. Because this was a cool phone. This was called the Motorola V8160. I got a picture of it here. Let me get it full screen for you. Copy image address. And here, let me pull this up for you to see. Look how small that was. And so this did everything that the StarTAC did, but it was like super, super tiny. And I've never owned a phone this small since. Now, there was a phone that we reviewed a little while ago called the Unihertz Atom, and it was about this size, but like a full Android smartphone. So there are small phones out there that you can get now, but this was a super cool phone. It was just, the battery life was great on it. It was very compact, and then it would also, again, work as a modem, so I could plug it into my laptop and just off you go with it. People were always talking, I would have people, oh, it's a cool phone, look how small that thing is. So when I saw that, I just had to get it. And then I went from that to like a regular flip phone with a color screen. I can't remember why I did that, but there was something that phone after that one did. They never made them that small again. And now we've got these huge phones that we walk around with. So everyone wants me to do something with my friend's DeLorean. I'll give them a call and see if we can work out something. That might be kind of fun to do with the DeLorean. The funny thing with the DeLoreans, though, is that they're not all that high tech. In fact, they're not very high tech at all. But they look cool. And what's cool is that they made them out of stainless steel. So the DeLorean that you bought back in the 80s is going to look exactly the same today. His looks great. He was a pretty low mileage driver. And they're not all that fast either. What would be cool would be like to make your DeLorean electric, because that's what happened in the movie, right? It was an electric Mr. Fusion powered device. All right, so let's take a look at this thing. And we're not going to do a recording of this. We're just going to start messing around with it because I want to see how it works. Now, I heard from some people from the CES coverage about let me update the Amazon feed here to get on the right device. There was some issues related, or some concern related to the TSA lock on it. So this is a TSA approved lock. And as you can see here, it may be hard to see. Let me zoom in on it a little bit. It has the TSA lock, but apparently these things are real easily broken into. Hang on. Woo, it's blurry. There, a little too close. Let's zoom out a little bit here. There we go. So apparently these are really easy to break into. So the TSA can always get into your lock. And the other thing with this is that you've got to keep it charged, because if you don't charge it, you can't get in at all. And I don't know if this has any charge on it at all, so we may have to plug it in real quick. So let me do that real quick and see what we can do with it. Let me find my charging cables here. So what happened was when I went to CES is that I took all my charging cables with me. And so now I don't know where any of my cables are. I've got like this big bag of stuff I've got to go through and rejigger everything. And one of these days, I'll show you the power strip that I'm using. I got this one from Kensington a while back. It is so useful because it's got the USB chargers built in. So why don't we plug this in real quick and see if it charges. Yes, apparently if you're not charged, you're in trouble. So what you got to do, I guess you have your travel battery with you, you can get in, or if you've got, and I guess you can as a civilian get the TSA lock, but I think they're out there. So this will keep the casual criminal out of your bag, but it won't keep someone who's really determined to get into it. So let's charge this up real quick, and I'll take some questions. MZU says 90s tech is indestructible. Yeah, these phones, you could drop these phones, and like this phone has probably been through a lot, and nothing would happen to it. It was just built like a tank. We had also these Nextel phones back with my old job for our truck drivers. We had one phone. This was a crazy strong phone. This phone survived in a snow pile for like two or 3 months. The guy dropped it in the snow pile. He tripped or something, and it just was missing. And then when the snow melted, there was the phone. We charged it up, and it was like back to normal again. So pretty neat stuff. My friend Dennis Black here is wondering, did he buy the DeLorean new? No, he bought a used one, but it had very low miles on it. So he recently acquired it. Yeah, I'll try to go and I'll maybe see if we can go and visit with his DeLorean. He might really enjoy showing that off. All right. Let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, Mr. Food Moon said the infamous Game Boy 2 that survived the bomb. Yeah, I actually saw that Game Boy. So if you go to the Nintendo store in New York City, this was a Game Boy that was in a barracks that was hit by a Scud missile in the Gulf War, and it survived. It's all melted, but the components inside survived. So pretty neat stuff. All right, so let's take a look and see how we can program this thing. So we have to charge our Benji lock. So I guess they give you a USB cable, but it's very short. All right, so we're going to recharge that. A fully depleted battery will take 1.5 hours to recharge. So how to program your Benji lock by Hampton, master user. Okay, first user added will be the master user of the lock and will be needed to, yeah, you can read along with me here. All right, so wake your Benji lock by touching the front fingerprint sensor. I'm guessing we've got to charge the battery here before we can do anything. Okay, so on the back of the lock, enter the default code by pressing the 1 button 4 times. Yes, I guess you can't use it while it's charging. So we'll just give it a little juice here, and then we'll pop in there. All right, this looks easy enough. And I guess you can have additional users on it. So there's a master user, which is the first one to use it. And then additional users. Press and hold the sensor with your original stored fingerprint. The shackle will open, but do not remove your finger. Once the LEDs start rotating, lift your finger. Within 4 seconds, press and hold your preferred finger on the sensor. It's always interesting how these companies try to solve problems, because you don't really have much of an interface on this. So that's interesting. Now, it looks like you can have a passcode between 3 and 8 digits on the back, but you only have 3 numbers to play with. So I think the safest thing would be to program the full 8, because that at least will, offer the biggest number of combinations. All right. All right, so press the back of your lock, enter the default code by pressing number 1. Okay. All right, so let's just see if we have enough charge in here to do something with this. This will probably be an extras channel review. I just don't see a lot of depth to this product here. And I think we got to charge. There we go. Okay, so let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there it goes. So now it's looking to be programmed. So I'm going to hold my thumb down here. And I think, all right, so I think we're good. Okay, so now, so we lock the lock. Now if I push my thumb down here, I think we got to do that again. So let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. All right, so now In 4 seconds, press and hold your preferred finger on the sensor. Oh, I have to do this 5 times until the sensor. Oh, I see. Okay, so I didn't follow the directions properly. So let's see if we can. This is probably like watching paint dry, folks. Sorry about that, but we got to get this thing programmed here. 3, 4. See at the front here, maybe. Or the battery died again. Oops. Give it a little bit more juice here. Sometimes I think just having a key is a little bit easier than having to have to charge up this lock all the time. But the good news is there's 193 of you on YouTube watching me fiddle around with this lock. So let's let this charge up for another second. I may have to start over again because apparently you're supposed to do what I did, but you have to repeat that fingerprint reading step 5 times. They do have a video to kind of guide you through the process here. And if you want, do a search on my snippets channel, or even from I think it was last year. I think it was last year's CES. So last year's CES, we interviewed the guy. He's got a good story. The guy that created this, his name is Robbie Cabral. And I saw him at the show this year too. Really nice guy. And it was his vision for this product. And they started with kind of like a padlock. And this is their new travel version. The Tech Chef says, why not just ship the product charged? That's a good question. My guess would be that it's a small battery and or the cost of having the product sit and charge was not worth the effort. But you're right. I mean, if you buy this thing in an airport or something, you probably want it to work when you take it out of the box. Excuse me. All right, so I think we're charged up again. Let's try this again. Mr. Food Moon says it's basically a lock with a fingerprint sensor. That is correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to hold my finger down. Okay, so that's 1. And then we're going to do it again. There it goes, the second one. And here's the third one. Yep, okay, now I'm getting it. And so every time I push my finger down, you can see it's giving me another light to say that we're good. Okay, so now we're done. Okay, so now the lock is locked, and I'm going to hold down my finger here. No, it didn't read my finger. Let's try it again. Huh, I did use, there it goes. Okay. All right. One more time here. I'm not sure what triggers the thing to read the fingerprint sensor, though. There's obviously some kind of capacitive sensor in here, but it's like not always picking up my thumb. There it goes. Okay. That seems to be somewhat reliable. All right, so now let's figure out how to change the code on the back. So, all right, so what we need to do, oh my goodness, this is like a real quick thing. So to do the code on the back, what we have to do is press and hold the sensor with your original stored fingerprint. That's the master user, which is me. The shackle will open, but do not remove your finger. Once the LEDs start rotating, lift your finger. Within 4 seconds on the back, so you got like 4 seconds to type the code in. So let's try this. We're going to do this. I'm not sure what gets that thing to trigger because it's not always. It's obviously some kind of capacitive. There it goes. Okay. All right. So now we're going to hold it here, and then we're going to wait 4 seconds for this to start blinking. All right. So now we're going to do. Okay. So this did a code there, and then that should do it. Let's see. Hopefully, let's see, I did 33221. I think I did it too quickly for it. So let's try it again. And now it's not reading my fingerprint. There it goes. Okay, so I'm going to hold this down, and then we're going to let that blink. Okay, so then we're going to say 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. All right. And then I would imagine that will lock in. Okay, so let's see if that does it. Ready? Here we go. 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. There it goes. All right. I got that figured out. And then let's see if we can, I just want to get it to unlock one more time, and then we're going to do one more fingerprint, and then I'm going to take some questions. Spencer, as I'm futzing around with this here, Spencer on the Amazon chat brings up a point that I was touching on initially, but I think we should explore further. Spencer says, hey, it seems like a great product, but if you make a review, it is probably a good idea to list the flaws with TSA locks. And this is a point that somebody else made on the YouTube chat. Lockpicking Lawyer has a great video on TSA locks not being extraordinarily secure. So that will be something we will explore in the main review video. Wake up, you're touching the front. Okay, so apparently you wake it up by touching the fingerprint sensor, but it doesn't seem to wake up. There it goes. And it's a little tricky to get. I would say this is probably not going to be as accurate as like your iPhone or smartphone thing. Okay, so now if we want to add additional users, press and hold the sensor with your original stored fingerprint. The shackle will open, but do not remove your finger. Once the LED starts rotating, lift your finger. Within 4 seconds, press your hold your preferred finger on the sensor until, okay, so it's kind of repeating what we did before. So now we're going to unlock it again. Yes, my big complaint with this is that it's not always waking up, and I'm not sure what it takes to wake it up. It seems to be very arbitrary as to when it decides to wake up or not. And it could just be that the battery's low on this. Yeah, so, and this was some stuff that came up in the discussion here. The charge time, they say, is about a year, 6 months to a year was kind of what they said to me on the show floor. So it might be something that you just charge when you're about to leave on a trip. So some other folks are wondering what's it made out of. It is metal. It is all metal, so it's not plastic, at least not all of it. So like this part here is plastic. I mean, look, if somebody really wants to get into your bag, this is not going to stop them because the padlock portion is not all that large. But it's just not waking up when I put my finger on it here. I'm not sure like what it's, there it goes, okay. Okay, so now we got that, and I just screwed up. Okay, so now, let's try it one more time. Let's get this going here. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to let that go, and then it's going to start blinking. Okay, so now we're going to put another finger down. We kind of repeat the process that we did before. So I'm going to program this index finger, and it considers this another user, but the main user is the thumb. So if I unlock the lock with this finger, I can't program the combo or add another user. So let's try this now. So we got, there it goes, all right. So let's try a finger that hasn't been programmed yet. Okay, so that works. It likes my index finger better. The other problem that I run into at this time of the year is that I am, my hands get so dry that it's often hard for these things to detect my fingers properly. All right, so now I'm going to take my index finger from my other hand, and let's see if it lets me in. Oh, here it goes. Okay, so it says nope. Nope. All right, let's try this finger from a different angle. See, it doesn't like it from the other angle either, so that's interesting. See, if I put it in, yeah, but if I put it this way, so it's got to be oriented the same way. So let's orient my other finger. Yeah, well, that's good. At least it's not like just opening up for good. Okay. And put this one back on again. Boom. Okay, pretty cool. So yeah, and everyone's saying, hey, you know, you kind of get what you pay for with this stuff, and that's definitely to be expected here. So I don't think these travel locks are all that secure to begin with, but I'm definitely going to check out the Lockpicking Lawyer. So this one again has the TSA 007 lock on there. So yeah, I would not like entrust the family jewels to one of these things, but if you were looking for a way to just lock your bag to get a little bit more peace of mind, you would have it here. So it appears to me that this thing like puts itself to sleep Because you saw like when we were just hitting it over and over again, it was turning itself on a lot quicker. I also wonder too, like when it comes to check baggage, what that means for the lithium battery that's inside, unless it's got a different type of battery. There it goes. Question on cost. This is about $40 for this battery. Now they have a more robust padlock, which was their first product, and we looked at that at CES last year. But this is the smaller device of the set, so pretty cool. So I'm going to probably shoot a review of this on the Extras channel in the next day or two. I could probably do it now, couldn't I? Why don't we do that now? I could probably just let it charge up for another minute here. And then we have, there it goes. So you can actually use it when it's plugged in, it appears, at least with the code. So let's see what happens when I, you know what, I'm going to wait on the review, and the reason is I need to do more research on the lock-picking lawyer to see if we can find out more about it there. So I'll shoot this probably later on in the week. We're going to have a bunch of live streams on Amazon, by the way, so there it goes. Yeah, so I think if you were looking for one of these locks, I mean, Hampton makes good stuff, so like they're not cheap. You know, this obviously has the feel of like a lesser quality. I don't want to say lesser quality. I want to say the quality of this feels about what you would expect out of a travel lock, not anything that's going to like protect you from a really determined thief. But they do have a padlock version that I have handled at CES now twice that feels a little more robust. So if you had like a gym locker or something, I think that one would be the one to look at. So that's definitely something to take a look at. Joseph Tyson says, I'll stick with the combo lock for $6. Yeah, you can certainly do better with a lower cost lock. I would say the value for this would be people that lose their keys all the time, those little tiny keys or something. Like you don't need the key. If you remembered your code and your fingerprint, you can get into it usually pretty quickly here. So yeah, it's not the most reliable fingerprint reader, but it seems to be working pretty well with my fingers here, at least, to get in and out of it. So King113 says, if you ever travel to Syria, Lebanon, or Libya, you always have your bag with a broken lock anyhow. So people could cut this off super easy, no question about it. Here in the US, they don't need to bother with that because the TSA officers have the key. So everybody can get into your bag. Dennis Black says, I think it's interesting. I don't think I would use this product specifically, but as the tech matures and the quality lock makers get together with quality electronics, yeah, I think that's part of it. These things will only get better. And you know, I don't know. So one of the things with these kinds of fingerprint sensors is that they are not as foolproof as you would think they are from the standpoint of false positives. So it generally will keep out people who don't belong in. But depending on how they tune the fingerprint sensor, the technology they're using, the processor that they're using, it will vary, you know, based on all of those factors. So it's possible that somebody could maybe lift your fingerprint or something to get into it. And again, these are one of these things that you just got to think about. I mean, this is going to keep the casual person out of your bag, and that's really what it's designed to do. All right. So El Taco Destroyer says, Jerry rigs everything needs to tear into this. Yeah, I'm sure they've probably looked at a few of these before. Yeah, if you go on their website, here, let's pull up some of the other ones they have here. Because this has become like a whole product line. It initially was just the lock, Benji lock. And like I said, I did an interview with him at CES. And by the way, if you go on Amazon now, there's like a million of these things. So this is their, let's see if I can find the right one here. So this is the white padlock. And this is the one I initially saw at CES. And that one looks pretty rugged there, doesn't it? And I'm trying to see. Yeah, so this one has like a regular key, and it has the fingerprint sensor integrated. And his story was that he wanted to have something that he could bring to the gym with him. You know what, let me pull up that video because that might be fun to just watch that real quick. So let's take a look if I can find the story here, because you all might find that interesting. I love these stories from people that you know, that are trying to make it, you know. Yeah, he had a lot of, if you go on YouTube, you'll find a ton of interviews with him. Here he is on NBC or CNBC, but we got him too. Let me find my interview real quick. So I know I've got it in here somewhere. Here we go. All right, so let me see if I can get some audio over to you all. Give me 1 second here. This was CES 2018, yes, last year's CES. All right, so let me pull up my audio mixer here. We are on input 3. And see if I can route audio to my TriCaster.
We do interviews on these dispatches, but I got somebody very interesting here you should all meet. This is Robbie Cottrell. How you doing?
Nice to meet you. I'm well.
So, Robbie, why don't you tell us about what you got in your hand here? And there's a big story behind this thing, too. So let's start off, though, with the lock. What do we got here?
Well, basically, this is a Benji lock, and it's the world's first traditional padlock with fingerprint technology, which means that not only you can open it with the ease of your fingertips, but also with a set of traditional keys. In less words, a hybrid.
And now the story behind this is that you developed this yourself on your own. You went on Shark Tank. What happened after that?
Well, after that, it's been a crazy experience. I got to deal with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. And then after that, now we just, starting tomorrow, unveiling the Benji Lock Mini and this version as well. Won a CS 2018 Innovation Award. And we'll have a great week. It's been amazing. I mean, the whole Shark Tank experience has been a dream come true. So it's something to tell your viewers that if you ever have a passion for something, don't believe the naysayers, just go for it. And I'm here, so blessed to talk to you today.
Pretty cool stuff, and we're blessed to talk to you as well. And now you linked up with Brink Security, who's manufacturing the lock itself, right? So and I guess there's been a pretty rapid movement here from the time you were on Shark Tank to now. What happened?
Oh, I gotta tell you, the Shark Tank episode was October, and in less than 2 months, we already have developed, working on the 2 versions of the lock, and it's gonna be available summertime of this year. So yeah, it's pretty much of a blessing partnering with a great company that it's already in the industry. And for me, just to be a normal guy with kids at home and everything, so, you know.
You fell on some bad luck right when you started developing this, so there was a kind of a neat story about that. So how did the inspiration for this lock come about?
Well, the inspiration actually started, I was working 3 years ago, well, almost 4 years ago in real estate. And 6 months into the job, I got laid off. The thing was that I got laid off in the month of December, and the same day I got laid off, my daughter was born at nighttime. So that whole transition, I got depressed, overweight, but going to the gym on a daily basis, that's how I noticed how people were securing their lockers, and some people left their keys inside, others were having issues with Bluetooth. So I said to myself, how come there's just not a lock, simple, no app needed, that you can just open with your fingerprint, but also with a key. That way you can break the whole age tendency of anyone, even my 4-year-old son can use it, up to a 90-year-old person. So
programming with your fingerprint on here. This is programmed to somebody else right now, but we unlocked it earlier. But it's nice too that if the battery dies, you can just use the key with it too. So
correct. And that was the whole goal, just a simple hybrid. And the beauty of the technology is that it's gonna go beyond the padlock. So with God's faith, we'll see how everything goes. But this summertime, I'm very excited.
There's a smaller one coming out as well?
Exactly, yeah, the Benji Lock Mini, which won the 2018 CS Innovation Award, and it will be displayed at the Innovation Award Showcase and also at our booth.
Great, we'll have to check that out at the booth tomorrow, and really, congratulations on all of this. It's kind of the American dream, right?
It is, and again, to all your viewers, that sometimes if you have an idea, just take little steps. Every day is not gonna be easy, but you can make it happen.
This channel is brought.
All right, so put my mute on here. So that's the Benji Lock story there. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, well, folks, I'll take a few more questions, and then I've got to run because I've got to get the wrap-up uploaded, which is my Monday night show, and get a couple things wrapped up here before the end of the day. But let's take a look and see what we've got for questions here. I missed a few of them here, so let's see what we got. Stephen Lovett says something like this would be fine for a kid's backpack. Yeah, like for my daughter, for her backpack. I mean, this would certainly keep, a kid from getting in, unless they had the TSA key or something. So you're right, this could work really well for that. Is that the guy I just interviewed with her CES Part 2 vid? Yeah, she probably did interview him. He's been very good about doing interviews, and he's good on camera, so that's for sure. I think they must have a bike lock now also. Yeah, they've been expanding out, so this is one of their newer ones. They didn't talk to me about the bike lock when I was there, but they might have introduced that like mid-year or something. So Dean Holm wants to know if I've seen the new TriCaster Mini. Yes, I have. And for those of you that don't know, I use this device called the TriCaster that does all the stuff that I do here. And I bought it actually back in 2015. So it is, almost 5 years old, and it's probably getting a little long in the tooth. And the new one can do 4K. My cameras do 4K, the three that I'm using here. So I could switch over to 4K. It can do up to 60, although my cameras just do 30 frames per second. And I'm actually seriously considering doing an upgrade to it. I'm trying to figure out what I can do with the old one. I'm trying to figure out what it's worth. I had a couple of trade-in offers from a few resellers, but they were really bad offers. So I got to figure out, because I just don't want to have this valuable piece of equipment just sitting here if I can get some money for it. So we'll probably do an upgrade of the TriCaster shortly, because I do want to get more performance. And the other thing and it's funny, sometimes these little features are the ones that matter the most to me. So one of the other things you can do with the new TriCaster is that you can control it over NDI. So if I'm shooting something in another part of the house, I don't have to bring the TriCaster up with me. I can actually control it over the NDI connection. And if you're not aware of what NDI is, it's a network streaming protocol. And it allows you to bring in video sources over your network, but it has similar latency to what a direct connection would allow you to have. So you put these little boxes out there, you plug a camera into it, and it's on your network and you can use it. My local high school started using it, so they can pretty much bring in cameras from any room in the school just over Ethernet. It's amazing. So the new one's NDI only. It comes with 2 boxes. And the NDI, when you're using it at the full-blown non-compressed protocol, even at 4K, there's just no compression artifacts. So it looks pretty much just as good as a direct connection would be. So it's really amazing. So we're going to probably get one at some point. And then there's also the TriCaster TC1, but that's a lot more expensive. So I think the TC1 starts at around, I think 14 or 15 grand, and the Mini starts at 8. And the Mini's all I really need. 8,000 is a lot of money, but honestly, the first TriCaster I've had in here paid for itself within a few months. It's that valuable to me as a tool, because I can do all this stuff in real time that cuts down so much on the editing side of everything, and it does streaming. So right now, I can hit a button. You could do all this with OBS, but the TriCaster just does it better. There's no aggravation. You turn it on and it works. I've had OBS will work one day and then they update something and somebody doesn't update their open source driver for this, and all of a sudden everything just goes kaput. So the nice thing with the TriCaster is that generally, a few issues along the way here and there, but generally it works when I turn it on. So that's part of why I want to do that. TDub116, thank you very much for your super sticker. That's right, they're doing stickers now in addition to super chats and everything else. So thank you for your sticker. Fred215, do those computers still work behind you? They used to. So the SE30, I did a retro review about a year ago, and it is no longer, the display is messed up. I got to recap the whole thing. The 2GS there does work, except the power supply on it blew a filter cap, and I have a new power supply for it. I just have to install it. So we'll do a video one day of me getting that thing back up and running again. So we'll see what goes on there. Chris Bernard wants to know if I'm going to go to Florida for the first crewed Dragon mission. I probably will try to get down for that. I actually wanted to go to the one they just did where they blew up the rocket on purpose. But I had just gotten back from CES, and my wife would have killed me if I did another trip. So I need to take a couple days to chill out. But I think I might try to do that manned mission. And that one might be one where I need to plan to be down there for a little bit, because they're going to be very careful about weather and launching, and I'm sure they're going to be super, super cautious. And what I found covering the space program is I have yet to go down for a launch that went off on time. Every one I've been to has always been delayed by a couple days or sometimes a week or more. One was a few months delayed, so that was pretty killer. All All right, let's see. Rich Wilson says, I remember Level 1 reporting on an AI-generated master fingerprint that is just iffy enough to unlock a lot of devices. Yeah, it might be fun to try that. I'll have to see if we can figure out some way to trick the lock. I don't think there's going to be a lot of like super security on this thing. I think it's good enough for what it's supposed to do, but we'll have to play around with that. So Dean Holmes says there's also Media Looks NDI software which sends NDI over the internet. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun to play around with because if you can get it to work over the internet, that would certainly be cool. NDI typically works on a local network. Chris Bernard wants to know, did I ever have a Sega Game Gear and did I have a TV tuner for it? Yes, I did, as a matter of fact, and that was a cool device, the TV tuner on the Game Gear. I sold the TV tuner a number of years ago, which is probably the wrong thing to do because it's worth a lot more money now. But I used that TV tuner quite a bit because if we went on family trips or whatever, it was a color TV that you could take with you and play games with it. It was fantastic, so I really liked that. King113 says, why don't I cover handheld computers anymore? Well, I think I've covered as many as there have been around. So if there are some that you want me to cover, let me know, and I will try to find some more. I haven't seen many new handhelds come out in a while, handheld computers. I would bet you, Chris, that the lockpicking lawyer has done something with this already, but we can try to find out. So Chris Bernard says, is the TV tuner worth anything now in the Game Gear? It was analog only, which isn't a thing. Yeah, you can't tune any TV with it anymore, but the TV tuner, the Game Gear one, it did have a video input on it, an analog input. So I actually used to connect my Sega Genesis to it just because I could. And I sometimes would plug in. I actually used it as I was playing around with video as a kid back then. I would also use it as a portable monitor because I could output my VCR, my big VHS camcorder. I could output that to the Game Gear, which was awesome. And if you think about it, back then, you didn't have that unless you had a big TV you could drag around with you. This was a battery-powered monitor, and I was able to do that for the few times that I needed to. So it was a useful tool for that. Chris gave his to Goodwill. Yeah, I think actually if you go on eBay, you'll see that they're selling for, I think they're selling for a couple $100. And again, they're more of a collector's item. There's not a lot of usefulness you can get out of it. And plus now looking at the Game Gear screen now, it's not a great screen. I have a Game Gear upstairs. It's not working anymore. I think they had some capacitor issues with those too. So, all right, folks, I got to run, but we're going to be back with more live streams. And tonight on the extras, on the wrap up, I've got a whole set of dates for evening live streams. They're going to start around 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to do a bunch of live streams on Amazon and here on YouTube that you can all tune into. So be on the lookout for those. And what's cool is that we're doing them at that time because that's prime time. So we're going to be streaming on the Amazon homepage in addition to YouTube here. So that's a really cool opportunity. So be on the lookout for that. So we'll probably shoot this. I've got, so the first one is going to be, let me check my calendar here and I can tell you exactly when it's going to be. So the first stream is going to be on, is it Wednesday? No, it is, yeah, Wednesday the 22nd is the first one, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. We're going to do the Nintendo Switch and having multiple Switches under one account because it's not as straightforward as it appears. And then after that, we've got one on the 25th, the 26th, the 28th. So we've got 4 coming up in the next week or so. So be on the lookout for that. And thank you all for tuning in. So yeah, I'll try to, if I get around to it, maybe I'll send out an email to the email list just to let everybody know when we'll be on. So if you want to catch one of those streams, you can do that. And otherwise, I just pop on randomly here. So cool stuff. All right, I got to run, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm sorry I probably didn't get to everybody's questions and comments. I apologize. I was like trying to focus on this lock here, and I missed all the chat coming through. But I will do better. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank TDub116 for your sticker. Very much appreciated. And I will see you all very shortly on the next stream. Remember, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Wednesday the 22nd, 8 p.m. Eastern time here in the U.S. And that is it. Okay, everybody. Thanks and have a good night.